welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. This is the latest Nocpix Quest H50R thermal binocular. Now, this is about to hit the market on the 27th of February 2025. I've had it for a few weeks and been out using it, and I'm very impressed with it. All the stats and details will appear soon online on the Nocpix website. I have an early example which is somewhat of a prototype, but I have found it to be absolutely 100% functional, and other than missing a few details and specifications in a printed handbook, there's not really a lot I haven't found out on this that I quite like indeed. So let's talk about it. Number one, they call it a binocular. Technically it's a biocular because actually all the image is coming in through this side and that side's all your laser rangefinder, and it's a biocular because both eyes can see on the screen internally. Bit of a pedantic thing, but you know, that's just the way it is. So this is switched on. There's a little sensor on the back here. When I put that to my face, it will turn on inside. So that means when it's hanging around my neck on the strap like this, it's not glowing and shining up everywhere on my face. What's next? Well, you've got obviously a dual hand format. It's got a nice rubberized casing. You've got grip on the bottom here. So you can change the interpupillary distance, which is moving in parallel there, to set it right for your correct eyesight and the spacing between your eyes. And of course you can focus each lens individually internally to get a crisp vision of the picture. First thing I'll say is this: because it's got two eyepieces, it actually sits more solidly in position on your face, so you're not faced like sometimes you can be with a monocular when it just moves ever so slightly and you just lose that perfect pinpoint image focus because the lens isn't absolutely perfect. Well, you don't get that on this because it locks into your face really securely and you get great image all the time. You've got fold-up eye cups here, so you can pop them down like that if you want to, or lift them up. Because in full daylight, it's better to have them up because it keeps everything nice and focused internally and you don't get distracted by extraneous light. So there's four buttons on top and then you've got two dials. So the two dials here, this one is your focusing dial. It goes down to about 3 meters out to infinity, and that one is actually the digital zoom. Now the base level magnification is 4 times. Digital then takes you way up as far as you want to go before it becomes a little bit pixelated. You'll see that on the image. So hold this button down for about 3 seconds and it takes about 5 seconds for the unit to light up entirely, and then if you press that at any time when it's on, it will itself turn off just temporarily if you want to leave it into sort of pause mode. But as I said, if it's hanging down away from your face, that sensor there will turn it off anyway, so it's not critical. The rear button here on a short press takes you into the immediate menu. So if I press that, go into the immediate menu, I've got basically the colour palettes, I've got the brightness, contrast and things like that on the screen picture internally. If I hold that down for a long time, I can switch between ultra clear on or ultra clear off. And that's just a slight difference in the picture quality generated internally from the electronics. I leave that on. Next one down is Wi-Fi. Next one down we've got the image hue, so I can swap that between different modes. Then we can also turn sound recording on and off because of course this does record both stills and video footage. Next one down is the calibration. I can have it either on automatic or manual. Move on to the next one, that gives me the gallery so I can actually see what I've filmed on here without having to actually refer it to my iPhone or to a computer itself. And then the next setting at the bottom goes into the detail settings, so we can set time, date, go into all the automated setups, go meters or yards on the rangefinder, all the kind of usual things you want to do with a thermal product. That's all very much listed in the details in the instructions, but I want to give you a review on how I find this to actually use. So you'll have noticed, obviously, I've got power on, power off, I've got the menu button here, then I've got the up and down buttons there. Now the up and down buttons, when I'm looking through it, the front one here gives me the rangefinder. I can rangefind in either single pulse or I can rangefind in permanent scan mode, and then a brief press on the rear button takes a photograph, a longer hold sets the video going. Interestingly, when it is video recording, you can still take still photos by pressing the button here, and that makes it very useful if you want to pick up an individual image amongst a video where it might be running the whole time. Now the specifications on this are written on the box. So we've got a 640 by 512 sensor, and it's a 12 micron pitch with a 60 Hz refresh rate. You'll see in that 60 Hz refresh rate you do get very smooth movement. I wouldn't say it's noticeably better than a 50 Hz, but it does seem very smooth and I can't complain about it at all. The lens is a 50mm diameter, it's f1.0 for the aperture, and the detection range is rated to 2,600 meters. It's 4 times base level magnification, built-in laser rangefinder, and overall weight is 700 grams. I'll just talk about these for 1 second. You get 2 batteries with it, you get the charger as well, you get a cleaning cloth, you get little plastic containers to put your batteries in, and you also get a front lens cover which clips on here. Some people will use it, some people won't, they get a bit lazy, but we'll talk about that in a second. Now that 700 gram weight is very light, and it does make it very attractive because of course with both hands on it you've got far more capability of pressing the buttons without deviating your point of aim. You can hold them more stable, and you do get a great ability to scan around distance. Now the laser rangefinder is very fast, it's very reliable, seems to be quite accurate as well. In daylight I've had readings out to about 500 meters, but I've actually gone further to 800 meters after dark. That isn't unusual because of course in daylight you've got more light causing interference to your sensors, so that's not an issue at all. The fact it works a little bit better after dark than daylight. At the end of the day, it's a hunting product, it's not a long-range tactical target shooting product. As I said, you get 2 batteries with it, and battery changeover is done like this. You turn that collar there and lever that up, lift that up, and then the battery just pulls out there. Now you're thinking, does it matter if that's the wrong way around? And actually no, it doesn't matter if you put it in the wrong way around. The polarity doesn't matter at all, and they've done that specifically so that if you do need to change it in the dark, it's a lot simpler. But interestingly, as well as that external 18650 battery, and there is a spare as well, there is also an internal battery to this which will then charge when it's plugged in on the USB-C cable which is supplied with it. That USB-C cable can also be plugged into your home computer to download video and stills footage, as well as that charging capability from it. Now you do also get a larger carrying case which will go over your head and over your shoulders in thus fashion. I tend not to use these because I find they're a little bit in the way, but some people will prefer them and some people won't. And if you do use this case, you could probably take that strap off it, which is obviously supplied, and the straps here do also have an additional length to them, so you can attach that directly to that, and that will then pop into there to carry around like that. Of course, you then don't really need to worry at all about your lens protector, things like that. There's a nice little pouch in the top of here, so you can put your cleaning cloth in there, which fits on an elastic cable, which is very handy. I do like that. And I would use this as my long-term storage pouch, but I would use this strap as it is because generally I'm using this for night hunting, and I've usually got a coat on, so I tuck the binoculars inside the top of the jacket if that's the way I'm going to be using it. This is obviously all adjustable, you can change the length of the straps on it. It's got mesh on it, it will be a little bit more breathable, and of course you just pull that top open there, and that allows you to get them out quickly on a magnetic closure. As usual, colour palettes like the white hot, black hot, red hot are the most useful. There are others, the crimson, the green, etc., but are they actually particularly useful? I don't specifically think so. I do still say that white hot is the most commonly one I use. Red hot does pick out things very easily in the distance, and of course the black hot is perhaps the most relaxing. Sometimes gives the easiest perception of topography and buildings and things like that, which can be very useful in certain scenarios. But of course, having this stable to your eye and never being out of focus because the eyepieces are moving in relation to your eyeball means you do get a much more enriched environment, and you do feel much more of a participant within the environment than a spectator upon the environment. So they score well with me. Over the 4x base magnification, the magnification here is actually listed as 8x digital, so that's going up to 32x magnification. Of course, yes, it does pixelate, and I find it most easy, most relaxing to use at the lower middle end of the range, but I love the fact you can so easily and quickly flick up through it without being lost and pressing the wrong button, doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. And it does make it so intuitive to use, just like a regular pair of daylight binoculars, yet in complete darkness at night, where you don't miss anything. I could see rabbits, I could see hares. Hares are particularly common on one of the pieces of land I shoot most frequently, and they were easily visible at 700 or 800 metres. Okay, the ground conditions are quite short at the moment, but not a problem at all. I did get a nice video of a roe deer just over 100 metres, and of course the depth of field available from these was exceptionally good. A hare that was only about 20 metres away from me, still in good focus and easy to perceive what was going on. There was no glitchiness to the fluidity of movement from either animal, and the deer didn't seem to be bothered at all. At one point, when I was in the vehicle, I was watching hares about 150 metres away, and that was the time when I had the door frame possibly blocking the view of the laser rangefinder ever so slightly. And interestingly, I was messing around trying to get the laser rangefinder working before I realised I couldn't see it clearly because of the door frame. But whether it was because the beam was flickering on and off near the hares or not, I don't know. But the hares did seem to be reacting to that laser. It was the only time it happened, but I did actually try it deliberately on another occasion with hares specifically, and they did seem to be able to notice something about it. But it's hard to tell. We were in a vehicle over 150, 175 metres away on both occasions, and it's one of those things you're never 100% sure, and the hares didn't run miles, but it did just seem to flick their ears up when the laser went on, not rather than the vehicle itself drawing attention. Runtime on the batteries hasn't been published yet, but 18650s are a pretty common fodder now for most night vision thermal imaging products. Two come with it. You've got the internal battery, you can have spares as well. I certainly had no problem on a 4-hour outing, and I had plenty of laser power available to me, even on permanent scan mode, so I can't complain at all about the battery capability. And having those 18650s and the fact you can change them without losing image switched on because of the internal battery does mean you've got the whole night ahead of you, because 18650s are like ammo. You put a couple in your pocket and you're good for the whole night. Having the charger supplied as well as the two batteries makes life very easy, and because it's USB, so you can use it in your vehicle, in your house, or from your laptop, anything like that, and you are good to go for power at all times. When binoculars or bioculars first came out 7 or 8 years ago, they were very big, very bulky, and they had slightly different ergonomics. They were certainly more boxy than a regular set of binoculars. I would think to the untrained eye, they would think that was a normal set of binoculars, and frankly, ergonomically, that is how they handle and how they are used. I especially like this dual system here, where you've got the focusing with your front finger like that, and then of course you can do the zoom with the other finger like that. It works quickly, smoothly, and you know, you're never messing around looking for buttons trying to play the clarinet in the dark, as I call it. Having two buttons on each side makes the system a lot more intuitive and logical, and I do find it easy to get the most out of this item, even compared to Nocpix's monoculars, purely because you've got both hands, you've got two sets of fingers, you've got more stability, and it's just a win-win situation like that. One of the downsides is, go back to driving from a vehicle, when you're looking out of a vehicle you can swap eyes. If you've got the passenger window open or the driver's window open, you can swap eyes, swap sides, and you're only really having to move your head to look around. Whereas with a biocular or binocular like this, you do have to kind of move your whole head and your upper body more. But horses for courses, it's what suits you. I will say though, like I said, at only 700 grams, these are very lightweight, and I think I'd be hard pressed to choose a monocular over these, because the advantages do seem to be worth more than the very slight disadvantages. I'm very happy with the use of it. I found it easier to be out shooting and filming with it, and of course having them hang like that meant I could easily grab them with either hand, and they will tuck in just like my regular binoculars in daylight. Yes, you have to hold it with two hands, but On a Binocular, there's a lot of functionality and a lot of buttons to use on them, and actually you can often find yourself having to hold it stable with one hand and use the buttons with the other hand just to keep it still and actually access all the functionality of it. So is it really a big disadvantage having a biocular or binocular setup? I don't think it is, and I have to say this Quest from Nocpix is my current pick of the bunch in terms of the thermal product I would choose for my easiest use when I'm out hunting, shooting in daylight or darkness. Right, I hope you've enjoyed that review. Please like, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell, and don't forget to keep track of the regular uploads. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.